How does leadership influence organizational culture? That's the question I'm going to answer in this video. First, I'm going to start with what an organizational culture even is. Then I'm going to talk about how leadership affects organizational culture. I'll talk about how failures in organizational culture can lead to overall business failures. I'll talk a little bit about this new era that we're entering of leadership and culture. And finally, how you can be a powerful leader of a culture. Let's go. First off, what even is an organizational culture? An organizational culture is basically the collection of values that govern and guide a culture. These are the values that are embedded deeply into the culture, and whether it's explicit or implicit, are what people ultimately live by. People that align with those values generally tend to stay and want more, and the people that don't align with those values tend to leave or not stay for very long. Here's an example of an organizational culture. This is one that I've built. I have a group called the Influencer Circle. It's a group of entrepreneurs, mostly speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants, who I've gathered together into this culture. I am the leader of the culture, and I will talk about leadership momentarily. And pretty much everybody in this culture shares certain common values. Those values are contribution, curiosity, love, openness, desire to express in the world, among others. Now, one of the cool things about culture, what I've found in experiencing it and living it, is that when you have a strong organizational culture, you can generally add a person or sometimes multiple people, and they can quickly sort of rise to the level of the culture. They learn quickly because they want to become part of the culture. They want to fit in. So as long as you have somebody that's a good values match, you bring them into the culture, and generally they can integrate very beautifully. So how does leadership affect culture? So in my opinion, leadership is actually the most important factor in setting the culture. From leadership, everything else flows. If you are the leader, the way that I am the leader of my culture, then you are setting the standard that people are looking to as sort of the foundation of the culture. As the person in leadership, you're setting the standards for who you're bringing into the culture. So you're hiring people, you're inviting clients, you're inviting whoever you invite into the culture is because you are leading it. You are building it. You are, through your vision, pulling together the humans that are helping to make the culture. In addition, you're the one that is setting the guidelines and the rules and the standards for the culture. You're going to be setting the boundaries and the guidelines that people need to live by. You as the leader are also responsible for setting the environment of the culture. Even if you're not personally picking out every carpet or every paint on the wall or every brand color, you are still the person that is leading that charge. So as the leader, you're really responsible for setting the culture. And if you're not getting the culture that you want, I invite you to consider taking full responsibility for that. Now, in order to answer the next question of how can an organizational culture lead to failure, I first am going to share my story. But before I do that, I want to invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel to check out. I have hundreds of other videos on how to grow a business in an aligned, joyful, and energy-rich way. So how can an organizational culture lead to failure? Well, I'll tell you, because this very same group that I have now that is successful, it took me a long time to get here. I started this group 7 years ago. And the truth is, while I still have my very first client that I ever enrolled into this culture, after that first client, I don't have very many left. I only have one other one that's in the culture today. Everybody else moved on. Everybody else went along. And it's not because I was bad or I was wrong. It was because I didn't have a vision, a clear vision for what I was creating. I didn't have clear standards, clear values, clear guidelines, clear rules of engagement. I was missing a lot of the elements that really create a great culture, which I'll talk about in a moment. And so ultimately, it was a quote unquote failure because I couldn't retain clients. And a big part of that is that I wasn't being discerning enough about who I was enrolling into the culture. Now, I'm not saying that I enrolled bad people. I'm just saying that I enrolled people who weren't a fit for what I wanted to create. partly because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to create. I wasn't clear. Now, I am going to share with you how you can create a culture that's powerful. I have these certain specific things that I now know. But before I do that, I want to also talk about why this is really important right now. It's important right now because we are entering, in my belief, a new era for leadership and culture. With everything that's going on in the world and everything that's going on online and offline and all of the craziness happening, there's more of a need than ever for people to connect and unite, for people to feel accepted, for people to have a safe place to work, to live, to play. And so as a leader in this world, you can create that kind of space in your business, in your organization, in your association, wherever it is that you are playing your game. So here's how I believe you can lead a more powerful culture. There are 4 things that I'm going to focus on. It's not everything, but they're 4 really important things. The first is for you to be an embodied and congruent leader. It's for you to show up transparently and authentically, which means knowing that you're not perfect, not trying to pretend to be perfect, and not trying to hide it when you're not perfect. An embodied leader is one who walks the talk. If you want your people to be honest and truthful, then you need to be honest and truthful. If you want your people to show up on time and have integrity, then you need to show up on time and have integrity. You are the living, breathing example of the culture that you will create. The second thing is to have clear values and standards. That means to lay out explicitly, what is this culture about? What is it for? What's the bigger objective of your gathering this group of people together? What is it that you're in the world to create? Sharing that, imparting that, gaining buy-in for that, enrolling people in that vision even before they start working. And by the way, vision is a big part of that too. Having some sort of shared vision, something that everyone can hang on to together. The third thing is honoring those standards, enforcing them, helping people to rise to those standards rather than dropping the standards to meet people somewhere down below. Or obviously updating the standards if you're deciding to constantly change them. Make sure that you're living and breathing the standards and that you're holding other people to those standards. And then fourth, and the one that's probably most often overlooked, is to make sure that your culture has a path to leadership. How can you take people who've come into this culture and who are contributing and help them rise up into leadership? The way this is going to help you is that it's going to take some of the pressure off of you to carry the weight of the culture on your shoulders. What you want to do is to lighten your load and to disperse that leadership among other people in the organization. If you are carrying it by yourself, I guarantee you it will get heavy and you will ultimately resent it. What I recommend is to create a path to leadership so that people can start to rise up in the culture. I hope that was beneficial for you. And if you're a coach or a consultant and you're looking to create a culture, a community, a mastermind, a group of people who are all firing on all pistons, and you want to monetize this type of community, let me know. Let's connect. You can find me at superstardiscoverycall.com and sign up for a time to ideate with me, strategize with me, and let me help you decide how you want to execute this. I look forward to meeting you.